So I think I've struggled quite a bit with this aspect of the fruit of the Spirit. And I know I've said I've struggled with all of them, but that's just about me learning to allow the Spirit to be in control and alive and living according to the Spirit. And it's interesting, my pastor is just now starting a series about living, being led by the Spirit, and how to live that out and how to put that into practice. So it's always such a good time. But anyway, so the attribute of the fruit of the Spirit is gentleness. And so we've covered love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, and now the seventh one is gentleness. And yeah, this version has it as number 8. But anyway, I think they kind of always put it out of order. But I was looking as I studied at specifically a MacArthur study Bible, which I know a lot of people don't like MacArthur, and I don't agree with everything he says. I don't agree with every stance in his theology or his doctrine, because I think sometimes he puts limits on the work of the Spirit. And but I still believe he's a man that seeks the Lord and wants to be able to encourage people to study the Word. So I have this Bible, and it does have some good things about it. And one thing is, when he breaks down gentleness, I like what he says. It's better translated meekness. It is a humble and gentle attitude that is patiently submissive in every offense, while having no desire for revenge or retribution. In the New Testament, it is used to describe 3 attitudes: submission to the will of God, teachability, and consideration of others, which I think is really just a beautiful way of putting this. Like, when I first started looking into this, I was thinking, okay, well, when I think of gentle, I think of like the way we handle a newborn, or, the way we handle our children when they've been hurt, or when we're just really trying to be kind. And, we're gentle with our children a lot of times in our handling. You don't want to yank them around or anything like that. You want to grab them gently by the hand and lead them in the right direction. And so gentleness is something that I think is, it's difficult for me, because I think that in so many ways, the fruit of the Spirit is only evident in your life. One, if you are being led by the Spirit, but also if you can turn these attributes into things that you recognize God has done for you, and you receive that well. And I think that sometimes things like kindness, goodness, gentleness, and the way that he has acted that out towards me, I don't receive it necessarily that well. I tend to be more critical and not so gentle on myself and my own mistakes. I'm my own worst enemy and my own worst critic. And so I think that this is something that the Lord really started speaking to me yesterday, and probably the reason why I didn't get to this video at all last week was because he was really working on my heart in particular, and being able to recognize how hard I am on myself. And it's funny, there's been so many people speaking that to me lately, because I am automatically just in that place of, oh, that was terrible. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. I didn't do a good job there. I could do better. I'm not good enough. I'm not qualified enough, and all these kinds of things. And while all that is true, he has made me complete. And so when I read so many other scriptures, I realize that his work in me, it may not be something that I see as completed here on this earth, but because I'm covered by Christ, then he is gentle towards me, because I've received that gift of salvation and I have his Spirit dwelling in me. So I need to be in a place where he can allow me to recognize his gentleness towards me, and have that same attitude towards myself, and therefore I can kind of put it out towards others more. And I think that's something that's really maybe a little difficult for all of us. But as I study this further, there was one thing that really, there's another thing that stood out as another place that is where the word gentle is used, and it's a common verse that probably everybody's heard. Matthew 11, chapter 11, verse 28. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle, there's the word, and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And if only we knew how to fully submit and surrender our own will, our own yoke to him. He's so much stronger than we are, and he carries it so much easier. And I know I've said that in 8,000 of these videos I've done in the past, but I haven't actually recorded 8,000 videos. That was an exaggeration. But his yoke is easy and his burden is light, but it says that he is gentle and humble in heart. Now, that does not mean weak. It does not mean he was a pushover or a pansy. It means that he had a quiet confidence, and that it was something that created that identity in him, that he didn't have to lash out and be so quick to anger. In fact, he was slow to anger and slow to speak in those regards. And I think that's exactly what this word gentle is referring to, how we respond to others and how we treat others. Again, it goes hand in hand with all the other fruit. It's funny how all of them sort of lead into the other in progression: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and kindness and goodness we did together. But yeah, I think that this is just really a beautiful image of how he wants to love us, love being the first aspect of the fruit of the Spirit, and how all these things, when we allow him to love us fully, and when we allow his love to work in us, all of these other things start to manifest in us. Even though we have the fruit that would be coming out if we are living in accordance to the Spirit, then I think that a lot of times we hinder his work with our flesh. We're putting on this dirty self-righteousness or whatever. We want to go back to our comfortable ways and be our own boss instead of allowing the Spirit to do what he does. But when we are surrendered to him and we are led by the Spirit, then all of these things begin to become a regular thing in your countenance and in your attitude and the way that you deal with people. So that's what I want. I want to have all of these aspects to be shown in every part of my life. And I know that I'm not there yet. I'm not there by a long shot, but he's working on me, and he's showing me that if I can be gentle, learn to be gentle with myself first, because I have to learn. In fact, I heard somebody say yesterday, a very wise man said something yesterday about until we learn to love ourselves through Christ, we can't love anybody else through Christ. And it hit me in like a really deep place. I don't know that I've fully learned to love myself the way that Jesus does. And I think that's one place that I absolutely need to grow and learn and kind of walk into. And so I'm thankful that, this was kind of just spoken randomly in a conversation, and I was going, whoa, hold on a second. I'm not there yet, like at all. And maybe that's exactly why the Lord put me in that place at that time. But, yeah, I think that learning to love ourselves the way that he loves us, and then out of that outpouring is how he works out that love through us, because we have an understanding of what that is to an extent when we can allow ourselves to receive that love and to in turn feel that way about ourselves. It's difficult, but when our identity is in him and it's his Spirit that's indwelling us when we're believers, then by loving ourselves, we're really loving Jesus, because it's him. We don't have to love our flesh. We just are supposed to love the Spirit that is now abiding in us. And so all the struggles that we have, he loves us anyway, so we need to love ourselves anyway. And I have a hard time with that. So I need to be gentle with myself and with others. So I hope this was not like just a rabbit trail of craziness, which is a lot of what I do. But if you got anything out of this, then I pray that the Lord will just allow it to sink deep in your heart, and that he will grow great fruit from this. Yeah, hope you guys have a great week, and just continue to seek him and pray for his Spirit to move in you, and pray for him to show you ways that you are ways for your perspective about yourself to change, so that he can change your perspective about others and about your life. All right, love you guys.